afternoon, everybody. My name is Dawn, and welcome to Inside DSR. Today, we're at my house. We built this house and moved in about 2 years ago, and over the course of building and being here a couple of years, we've learned a lot, and we thought that some of this might be helpful for you guys, and so I just wanted to share a little bit of it. So, starting with the exterior, we had to do a lot of landscaping here. This house was just a raw piece of, this wasn't a house, it was a raw piece of land. And so we had to do absolutely everything. We really like to be outside, and we like to have lush plantings and landscaping, and so that's something that we spent a good deal of money on. We were surprised to find of how much that was going to cost. And so in doing research and after making these purchases, we discovered that if you are building a house, you should budget between 5 and 10% of your total budget for your landscaping. On the lower end of 5%, that's going to be just your general landscape plants and some simple beds. On the upper end, you'll be able to get some like flagstone patios and hardscapes, if that's something that you like. Another thing that we didn't really think about was exterior plugs. So when they come and they say, "Where do you want your plugs?" You're like, "I don't know. Where do my plugs go?" And so we just had them put the plugs where they're supposed to go. And in retrospect, we wish that we had added more plugs to the exterior of the house. So like you always get one on the front, you'll have one in your garage, and then you'll have one on the back of your house. But I would just go ahead and add a couple of extra plugs to either side of your house as well. An exterior plug is not going to cost you more than probably $150 to add. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge factor, and it will be really convenient. Another thing is outside spigots, the water spigots that you're going to use to water everything, unless you have an irrigation system, which I would highly recommend working that into your budget if you're going to have a lot of plantings outside. But definitely look into adding more spigots outside. Okay, so in that vein also with exterior is equipment and tool storage. Chances are, if you do a lot of outside work, you have shovels and mattocks and all kinds of things, and you probably have a place for those in your house right now. But if you build, you're starting from scratch, you don't have tool hangers, you don't have maybe a shed or underneath your house where you put that stuff. Think about those things, otherwise they're going to sit in the side of your garage and they're going to be a mess. So just outside, those are some things to think about. So let's go inside and I'll share with you some things that we thought through inside. So this is our living room. We built a really simple floor plan. It is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath ranch. We have 3 bedrooms on this side of the house, and then so it's a split, and our master is on that side. Our living room, and then we have our dining room slash, it's not even a kitchen, it's just a dining room, and then our kitchen is right over there. This floor plan, I couldn't really work into it doing like a linen closet or anything like that. So we ended up with having this open space right here, and I found that I didn't have anywhere to put our craft supplies and off-season decorations and storage. And so we found a local guy and we had this built. So we just did this past fall. We had this built and we have plans to have another set of these done on that side. It's going to be configured a little bit differently, but it'll hold the TV. It will match and hopefully kind of balance out that space a little bit. Let's see, lighting. Okay, so there's a lot of options with lighting, and one of the main ones is what temperature do you want your inside lighting to be? And it goes everywhere from like soft white and really dim. And Scott, I don't know if you can show right here. This is a pretty dim, warm bulb. This is probably like 2000 K, and then the lighting runs the gamut all the way up to 5000 K, which is a daylight bulb. And those are the ones, it's not quite fluorescent. I think fluorescent goes a little bit beyond that. But the daylights, they're very bright, and I love them. We had them in our old house, and I wanted them here. And just found out very quickly that this house just feels very different from our old house. The old house was, 8-foot ceilings. We had a dark color on the wall, and so that absorbed a lot of that light. Well, here we did these almost white walls, and we have a lot of natural light. And so those 5,000K daylight bulbs were blinding. I felt like I needed to wear a visor every day. I would walk around like this. And so I had to call our electrician to come back and change the bulbs out. And it wasn't that big of a deal. These recessed lights like this, they just pop them out, and then you just get different ones and they pop them back in. These actually are super cool because they have a toggle on them, and you can switch the temperature between 4 different settings. This is right in the middle, which is a really neutral light. And then you can, if you want to switch them all the way back up to 5K, you can do that. But this is on a neutral setting. So that's my thought about lighting. Okay, come on into the kitchen and we'll talk about plugs. Back to plugs again. So when your contractor builds your house, when the electrician comes, they have a code where the plugs have to be. And at this point in your process, if you decided to build a house because you just couldn't find what you wanted, you're gonna have made no less than like 16,000 decisions. And so if they ask you where you want your plugs, at this point, you're gonna be like, I don't care. But I will just encourage you to care because you will care later on. One example is, so they have to put the plugs where they have to go, but you can add plugs wherever you want to, unless there is something in the way behind the wall. So say if there was plumbing back here, that might be more difficult, but I would much rather have a plug here to plug in my diffuser, and we typically have our phones laying here, and I've cleaned all this up so it didn't look so chunky. But I'd love to have a plug there instead of having my only plug here. Floor plugs. If you have furniture, we should have done this in here. If you've got furniture that's going to sit away from the wall and you think that you're going to want a lamp, consider having a floor plug added. This is pretty easy to do if you are on a basement or if you're on a crawl space, but if you're on a slab, you've got to do that when they pour the foundation. So if you're on a slab, you've got to make a lot of decisions regarding electric and plumbing before they pour the concrete. Okay. All right, and I'm going to take you into our room because we didn't have the space in this house to have a dedicated office, and so I had to get a little bit creative with how we did an office space. So come on in here. Taking you to my bedroom. Can you see it okay? Okay. So we decided to do a little office nook here. And I, of course, like every great idea, it came from Pinterest. It wasn't original. This is not a load-bearing wall. We had this wall added so that I could do these built-in shelves. So once we have a kid that moves out, which hopefully is within, a couple of years. Our oldest is 19. But we anticipate, our kids are going to go to college or move out and get their own place, that we'll have one of their bedrooms to use for an office. But until now, this is about all the space that I need. And so this is working out pretty well for us. So that's about all we've got. If you've got any questions about anything, about the building process, about who we used, about finding land, anything at all, this was super, super fun for us, and it had been a lifelong dream. And so we had a really great time doing it, and I'd be happy to help you with any of those questions or try to find your dream home. Thanks for joining.